Hello and thank you for joining the Basic Reports webinar. Please make sure you're listening through your computer audio or through the GoToWebinar app. It's available to download to your phone from your registration confirmation email. Hello everyone and welcome to today's Calyx webinar. We will be starting shortly. To hear audio throughout the entire session, enable or adjust your computer audio or download the GoToWebinar app on your Apple or Android device. Thank you for joining today's webinar. We will be starting in just a few minutes as many are still continuing to join. For the best audio experience throughout the entire session, please listen through your computer audio if possible and enable and adjust as needed. If computer audio is not possible, you have a link in your registration confirmation email to download the GoToWebinar app onto your Apple or Android device. Hello everyone, and thank you for joining the Basic Reports webinar. Let's get started with the housekeeping and the legal disclaimer. I'll leave this up for just a minute and let you read that before we proceed on with today's presentation. Next, if you have any questions related to this webinar, you can use the chat feature in the GoToWebinar, and one of the consultants we have on the call with us will answer you. Any other questions can be answered with our direct support at 1-800-342-2599. I'll be your presenter today. My name is Allie Whitaker, and I'm the Professional Services Training Team Lead here at Calyx Software. Today we're going to be covering reports. I'm going to show you how you run a report inside of Point, how you can use the additional filters that are inside of that, and then how to create your own custom report with the fields and information that you want to see. So let's jump into Point. We can start with how to run a report. When you're ready to run a report inside of Point, you're going to go to your main page here, look on the left, the navigation panel, look down near the bottom where it says Reports and Marketing. We're going to expand that tab. The first step in running your report is to select your data folder. You can see under Reports and Marketing where we expanded, you can now see all of your data folders listed there. You'll want to highlight the data folders that you want to run the report on and deselect any that you don't want to have in that report. Second step is we're going to go over to the right a little bit at the top. We've got the Select a Report drop-down. So inside this drop-down, you'll see a list of all of the pre-made Calyx reports that we have. You can go through there and select one, or if you have built out your own, you can select that. I'm going to use the address label report and show you how we could run a report. At this point, you could push the generate button on the far right and actually generate your report. It is going to pull every file from these 3 data folders that you selected on the left into your report type. But you may not want to have all of your results in one report. You may want to filter those down. So I'm going to show you now how you can use the filters inside of the report to get the exact results that you'd like to see inside of your report. The first filter that we have is the one going across the top, originator and processor. This filter will allow you to filter the results to only see one originator or one processor or a combination of those inside of your report. So if you only wanted to see Sally's, you would select Sally as the originator from the drop-down and then select Generate to generate your report. The second filter that you have is the current status. This one is on the left, and you can see it has check boxes for all of the current statuses. If you want to see what files are currently in any one of these statuses, you can go ahead and click on that one, and it will only pull in the files that are currently in that status inside of your pipeline. If you want to see all of your fields or multiple, you could go ahead and click multiple of those or click all and then sort it inside of the report when it pulls. The last filter is at the bottom, and this is the status date. This one allows you to put a date range. So if you wanted to know when a loan went into application status, you could select application and do a month. If you wanted to know how many loans went into application status in May, you could go and select application date, and then your between days, you would put in May 1st and then May 31st. That would then filter down your results for any file that had an application date between May 1st and May 31st. So those are 3 ways that you can filter down your results when you are pulling a report at the beginning. You go over to the right after you've gone through all of the filters that you want. You click on the Generate button. And a Point Viewer report will pop up for you. This is not Excel, but you can export it into Excel if you want to save it on your desktop and work on it later or sort items. To do that, you go up to File, Export, and then you have your Excel option here. That will allow you to save it into Excel and alter the report as needed. Let me close this down. So we do have lots of pre-built Calyx reports inside of this dropdown. You can go ahead and look at all of these and see if there's information that you want to pull for yourself in a report. But if there's not, you can always build out a custom report for yourself. Let's drop down to the templates and I'll show you how you can build out your own custom report. So we're going to go to the bottom left in the navigation panel where it says templates. We're going to expand that. We do want to make sure that the radio button is on that top one on the left, the reports and marketing. Then you'll see all of reports that Calyx has that you saw in that drop down earlier. You are able to go in and edit any of these to add or subtract fields that you want to see. We do suggest if you are going to do that, that you highlight it, go up to the right and copy so it keeps that original report there and you can then edit the copy version. In here, we're going to start building our own custom report. I'm going to click on the New button that's also at that top menu. This is going to open up Reports template for me. The first thing I need to do is to name the report. I always recommend using a dash or a star at the beginning of your report name because that will put your report at the top of the list rather than down at the bottom so you don't have to scroll past all of the Calyx reports. I'm going to build out an example of a closed report. So I'm going to call that closed report so I know what it is in my list. The description right below you do not have to fill out, but you can fill it in with information about what your goal is in running this report. Underneath that you'll see the chart that starts with field name on the left. You can see there's a drop down and it will show you some of the fields. If you select a field from this drop down, for example file name, out to the right the field ID will automatically populate for you. You can also start typing inside of the field name and that will bring up some options for you. Let's go ahead and do a loan originator. So I'm going to start typing in loan originator and it brings up my option. I'm going to push tab and it shows me my field ID out to the right. So you can continue on adding in the fields that you want to see in this report. I'm going to put in a loan processor and push tab. That automatically brings up that field ID again. I'm going to have the loan amount. I'm going to go for the borrower's first name and the borrower's last name. Since I got the first name to come up, I can click this drop down and also see the last name. So right now these two fields are in separate fields, the first and last name. There is a combined code that we do have inside of Point for this, and you can combine the first and last name. It'll be the last name, comma, first name. So let me show you how you would go about entering that. I'm just going to type in borrower name and you can see no field ID has popped up. I'm going to go over to Field ID, and this one has a special code. It's all caps, name. This one will bring in, like I said, the full borrower's name together, so you only have it in one field. And let me delete that last name out of there because we don't need that anymore. And the last thing that I want to add in this closed report is the closed date. So let's start typing in closed date. So this is a perfect example for us. We've typed in what we want to have come up in our field names. The previous ones all came up with our field name, and we were able to push tab and it gave us the field ID. This one isn't doing that, but I still want to have the closed date in my report. So what we need to do is we need to save this report, and we need to go back into Point, into a file to see what this field ID is, and then we can put it inside of the report that we're building out. So I'm going to go up and click Save here. Name this my closed report. And go back into Loans here. I'm going to go up to Utilities, and then near the bottom there's that Load Field ID. This opens up a full file with all of the field IDs in that for you. So you can see this is the file with all of the field numbers. I would like to know the date closed. So I'm going to go up to the top right where Update Status is. Click on that, and it's going to show me all of the statuses that I can have inside of Point here. So I want to go and look at the closed date. So I'm going to scroll till I see closed, and it's that bottom one here. Its field ID for the date is the 6055. So I'm going to write that down, and we're going to take that and put that back inside of our template. All right, back down to our templates. I'm going to open up my closed report, and we can add that closed date again. So closed date down here, and that number was 6055. Once you've got all your fields in there that you'd like for your report, if you notice that you'd like to have them in a different order, you don't need to start over. You can rearrange them inside of this report template here. So if I wanted to have my borrower's name, that's currently number 5, I'd go out to the left of that, click on the actual gray number 5, and I can start dragging that up or down. Then release it, and it just reorganizes it inside of my template. So no need to delete and start over when you're building these out. Over to the right of the field IDs, we've got a couple more columns. Let's walk through those. The first column is a condition. Let me click on one of these and open it up. This allows you to filter your results even further. So it allows you to put a condition in here. So the close date, maybe I wanted it to be everything that closed last month. I could do last month option, and that would hard code it into my template here. If I wanted it to be the last number of days, you've got that option as well. You can also use this sort as a percentage. So if I wanted to see loans that had closed with a certain interest rate, I could put that in here as an additional filter for my report. If you don't want to hard code it in there, you can always the checkbox at the bottom that it says include in the additional filter list on the report generation screen. This is what I prefer to do because then it allows you to change the filters as needed when you're running the report rather than hard coding it into the template. So I'm going to go ahead and click that one. So when we go back in and run the report, you can see that condition availability. I'm going to click OK here. Our next column says Show, and it has a checkbox. This is basically allowing you to see this field and its results. So you're going to want to see all of the fields that you've just selected, so go ahead and keep that checkbox in that field. The next column has Total. This has 3 options for you. The first drop-down is a total. This will take the sum of what is in the fields. So I'm going to do that on my loan amount. I want to know the total of all of my loan amounts. Another drop-down that it has is the average. You can do the average on loan amounts, on interest rates, on anything that has a number for you to count. And the last option we have is Count. This will count up how many items are in that column, giving you a number at the bottom. A number at the bottom of that column. I'm going to do these 2 in our example. To the right of that, we have a Format column. They all currently say Auto, but if you click on some of them, they will give you other options. I've clicked on the closed date here, and it gives me the date formats that I can pick. You can always just leave it on auto. If I select the loan amount, it shows me currency and how I could have that broken down. Not all of them will have options, such as the loan processor, originator. These will just have auto because there is no preference there for formatting. And the final column is the width. This just allows you to preset the actual width of that field inside of the report. So if you know you would like it longer, you can have that field longer, or you can just, again, leave it on auto and it will allow that information to fill automatically into that field. Your second set of sorting options are down below. You have a sort by and then a drop down. Anything that you've made a field name above will be available in this drop down for you to sort by. So I'm going to use an example of sorting by loan originators because this is a closed report. You then have the option to sort it ascending or descending, and then you also have the group by feature. I like the group by feature with the loan originators because it puts them all together, and then I've got my count and my total columns on that. So I'm going to show you the group by feature. Once you select the group by feature, the next option also comes available, the page break. So if I want each loan originator to have their own page on this report, I would then select that page break. Underneath that, you've got the other sort options. Again, you can just go through and sort again with these other field names that you've selected if you wish to sort the results even further. I'm going to scroll down just a little bit. The next section that we've got here is the output option. The output is always going to be defaulted to this top option, display results in the point report viewer. So that is what we saw when I first ran the report, and then you were able to export it into Excel. So this has all the defaults that you would need in there to run that default report viewer. If you don't want it to go into a report viewer and you want it directly to go into Excel, you can change that output option to display results directly into Excel. And then you could have results in a new Excel file. That would take your results and put it directly into an Excel file. I do want to note that if you do select putting your results into an Excel file directly, any of your sort options and your filters will not flow over into that. So most of the time, if you are going to want those sort options or filters, I would recommend keeping it in that point report viewer and then exporting it over to Excel, and then you'll have it sorted the way you like. I'm going to go save this for us and then go into our reports and marketing and run this one for us. So I'm going to select my data folders over on the left, come up, select the report that I would like. So I'm going to pick the closed report here. And see in the middle now we have an extra area of a filter. This is our condition area. So if I click that condition drop down, that's exactly what we saw when we were building out the report inside of the template. So if I did want to put in last month's, I could do that here and it wouldn't be hard-coded into my report. I could change this as needed. I'm going to go over and click generate for us. Our report has pulled up here in our point viewer. You can see these blue horizontal lines. These are breaking apart each loan originator that's inside the report, since I asked it to filter it by loan originator and separate them. So you can see it is separating, and also in that blue line, the loan amount is giving us a total per loan officer, and then on the count, that would count up the number of close dates that we're showing in our system. If I scroll down to the bottom, you can see there is a grand total, so it'll count up everything and give you a big total of sum and a grand count. So again, if you did want to transfer this over into Excel, you would go up to File, Export, and then Excel. That would allow you to then save it in Excel and then move columns around or sort as needed. Thank you for attending today's webinar. We hope you received some helpful information today. If we did not get to your question during this webinar, we will reach out shortly with that reply. At the end of this session, you will receive a 5-question survey. We would appreciate you completing that so we can improve our training program and follow up with you if you so choose. To further assist you, a recording of the webinar will be available through the Calix customer portal very soon. Have a great rest of your day.